the park is contained within the greater Yellowstone ecosystem, so even though its appearance is quite different, there's an ecological connection with Yellowstone. I'll make some suggestions about how we can navigate our way around the park as we go along. Once again, don't drive too fast. Many of the sites are quite close together, and I want to make sure you'll get to hear all of my stories. Also, I will not point out every single pullout and viewpoint, but I'll make sure I do tell you about the ones that provide important. We'll soon arrive at the turn for the Coulter Bay Village. This location is usually pretty busy and provides many facilities, including a convenience store with gas right on the roadside here. Turning into the village gets us to a large camp. Exploring the country. The plan included adding nearly 1,000 new parks buildings, including visitor centers, washroom facilities, and administration buildings. So a faster, or even a more prefabricatable contemporary approach to modernizing the park service was in its near future. Love it or hate it, I suggest we visit Jackson Lake Lodge. Looks like we've turned in for Jackson Lake Lodge. If we're checking in or returning, enjoy your stay. If we're curious to see it, then I encourage you to go inside and enjoy the view framed by the huge windows. This can be one of the more reliable places to see moose, but as with all wildlife, it's not guaranteed. And finally, it's worthwhile to take a short walk to Lunch Tree Hill. This elevated position gives you a wide scan to look for animals, and you'll be visiting the place where John D. Rockefeller, his family, and Yellowstone Superintendent Horace Albright picnicked. You could almost say that this was the precise place where Rockefeller fell in love and decided that he would get involved with protecting the Tetons from over-commercialism. It's believed they found the hunting to be excellent in the spring, and also foraging for new growth medicinal and edible plants. It's most likely they traveled out of Jackson Hole to find more comfortable conditions in the winters. Archaeological evidence and artifacts, like stone blades, suggest that their presence in this valley dates back as long as 11,000 years ago. This follows the general theory that humans first came to the North American continent using the ice connection that joined Alaska and Russia during the last major ice age 12,000 years ago. The tribes included Shoshone, Crow, Blackfeet, and Bannock, and Gros Ventre. Within the tribes existed bands who were identified by what they ate to sustain themselves. So, sub-tribes of the Shoshone, for example, include sheep eaters and buffalo eaters. There is a lot of evidence that the native people felt the need to climb to the summit of the mountains like white people, and artifacts have been found fairly high in the Teton. Settlement of the West, the Homestead Act was signed into law by Abraham Lincoln after several earlier attempts. The U.S. government was eager that the West be populated. Some saw it as a money grab by the government, but it served its purpose, and by the time the law became redundant, 270 million acres of land had transferred to private ownership. Here's the simple version of how it worked. Homesteaders could occupy a 160-acre lot, and they had to build a dwelling of a minimum size of 12 by 14 feet. Remember the J.P. Cunningham cabin? If you met those criteria, after 5 years, you could claim title of that land for a small fee. So, that's how most settlers came to this valley. Most stayed on this side of the Snake River, which is slightly more fertile. Most came with cattle ranching in mind. Conditions here in the sagebrush are not ideal for ranching, though. Grasses for grazing didn't grow all that well in the loose, rocky soil. Many homesteaders found the challenge just too difficult. In the 1890s, leaders of the Mormon Church encouraged the faithful to establish new settlements spreading out from Salt Lake City. And 27 homesteads were established just south of here. We'll have the opportunity to turn off and see some of the historic structure of Mormons Row. But the Mormons did fairly well, as they shared resources between their homesteads. Famous. This image was immortalized by iconic black and white landscape photographer Ansel Adams in 1942. While on contract assignment for the Department of the Interior to capture images of national parks that would be used to decorate the department's newest building. In the foreground, the Snake River cuts a gentle, curved path through tiered benches shaped by glaciers thousands of years ago. Settlers in the valley of Jackson Hole looked to ranch cattle as their pathway to prosperity. And we heard how the lands and vegetation here are not all that fantastic for grazing. Well, it didn't take long for some of the early ranchers to realize that there was potential to make much more money by outfitting and wrangling increasing numbers of tourists drawn to the stunning scenery than battling it out to keep cattle alive, let alone well-fed. This was the beginning of dude ranches in the valley, but others were setting up what were described as shabby tourist traps. And all of this was completely unregulated and unplanned. Though there was a recognition by some locals that there was a better future in preserving the land as an extended national park, almost all did not want to give up their rights to hunting. They wanted to keep up grazing in the dude ranches. In 1926, Yellowstone Superintendent Horace Albright fulfilled his plan to bring the known philanthropist Rockefeller out to visit the Tetons. It was already in the works that the Grand Teton National Park would be declared, but its original format only included the range itself and 8 glacial lakes at its base. It did not cover the whole ecosystem, including this valley. And now, with these carnival-like touristy businesses springing up, there was fear that the completeness of the environment would be lost forever. Horace Albright hoped that Rockefeller would buy into his plan, emotionally and financially. And that's exactly what happened. Rockefeller and his family fell in love with the region instantly and began to scheme to buy up.
That mountain right there is Grand Teton, tallest one in the park, I believe. This is still Snake River overlook. Pretty cool. A spot where Ansel Adams took that photo in 1942. Pretty cool. This is Teton Point Lookout.